Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone, to Medium Rare.
It's great to have you with us.
This is our deep dive, where we, gently peel back the layers of the unseen world. We explore those connections, the profound ones, between the tangible and, well, the ethereal. I'm Claire.
And I'm Duncan. It's truly a pleasure to be back continuing our journey.
Today, yeah, we're carrying on with our exploration of Frank Householder's 4 basic principles of numerology.
We are. And just to reiterate, as always, our mission here is simply to deliver the information. Just lay it out as it's presented in the source material.
No judgment from us.
Exactly. Just the facts presented openly. We definitely approach this recognizing the, let's say, the intricate dance of mediumship and spiritualism that, underpins so much of this ancient knowledge.
And our goal is really just to help you, our listener, become truly well-informed on these ideas.
Precisely. Householder himself, he dedicated his book, didn't he, to those who are seeking numerical proof of the creative law.
Right. He aimed to impart a clear comprehension of the principle of truth in all its manifestations and expressions of nature.
So think of us as your guides today.
Yeah, navigating these pretty intricate ideas, pulling out the key insights for you. Today, we're diving straight into the absolute foundation of his philosophy.
Yes, and it's a concept that really, truly underpins everything else Householder talks about. It's the principle of vibration and equilibrium.
It's not just a side note, then.
Oh, not at all. It's the bedrock, the absolute foundation of his entire system.
Okay, well, Householder doesn't really mince words, does he? He states quite boldly, there is only one principle, and that is vibration.
He does, unequivocally.
When he says one principle, he's not just talking about a fundamental law, is he? He needs the fundamental law.
That's exactly it.
So what does he mean by it being singular, unchanging, without beginning or end? That sounds huge.
It is huge. And that's a crucial question because for Householder, vibration isn't just, a physical thing like a sound wave or something shaking.
Right.
He's elevating it. It's the ultimate truth of existence for him. It's omnipresent, so it's everywhere.
Okay.
It's without beginning or end, so eternal. Singular and unchanging that makes it the constant behind all the fleeting forms we see.
The one constant.
The one constant. He calls it the foundation of all laws, the basic truth of all things, times, and universal manifestations of action or reaction.
Wow. So basically everything, past, present, future, every action, every reaction. It's all just this one vibrational principle showing up in different ways.
That's precisely how he frames it. It's the ultimate reality underneath it all.
Okay, so if vibration is this all-encompassing truth, how does he then define what we normally think of as matter? Because that sounds like a radical departure.
It absolutely is a radical redefinition. He asserts there's no matter but ether, the center and circumference.
Ether, okay.
Yeah, ether. It's a profound statement. He's saying what we perceive as solid, as separate things, isn't really solid or separate at all.
So my desk isn't solid.
Well, according to Householder, all these material divisions are simply, get this, affinitized vibrating ions with variable motions polarized at different cohesive octaves.
Okay, affinitized vibrating ions. That's a mouthful. What does that actually mean in simple terms?
Right. It's dense terminology. But what he's getting at is that everything, the chair you're sitting on, the air you breathe, everything is made up of these incredibly tiny energetic particles, these ions.
Okay.
And they're vibrating at different frequencies, different rates. They attract each other or affinitize based on these vibrations, clumping together in ways that make us perceive them as distinct objects.
So vibration isn't just acting on matter.
No, for him, it is the very essence of matter. It's the one and only force in nature that constitutes and is the principle of all life, animate or inanimate, spiritual or material.
Spiritual and material.
Both. It's the invisible source, he says, out of which came everything. Creation and disintegration. It's this constant dance.
A dance of vibration. Okay, this feels like it's getting really philosophical now. He talks about the nameless one.
He does.
What is this ultimate reality he considers singular, infinite, timeless, and completely beyond human comprehension?
The nameless one is Householder's term for that ultimate unmanifested reality, the source before manifestation.
Okay.
And it's beyond our comprehension because, well, to name it, to define it, would be to limit it, right? To give it attributes would inherently make it less than infinite or eternal.
So it aligns with the concept of God as an uncreated, omnipresent, omniscient, an omnipotent principle.
Exactly, a principle. It's not a God with human-like qualities in his view, but rather this underlying, all-pervading force or intelligence, the source of all vibrations, yet it remains untouched by them.
Untouched by its own creations. And this nameless one is also tied directly to equilibrium. He calls it the grand central law of the universe.
Yes, equilibrium. That's the other side of the coin, really.
Tell us about this point of perfect balance.
Equilibrium, in Householder's view, is that state of perfect balance, the poised center, he calls it, where opposing forces achieve complete harmony.
Like a scale perfectly balanced.
Exactly, like the fulcrum of a seesaw, perfectly still and level. And he gives us this fascinating concept of silence,
Okay.
but not silence as in no sound. He defines it as the realm of vibration where nothing is going and nothing is coming, the point of equilibrium between that which is created and the uncreated.
Wow. So before creation, there's this perfect stillness, this equilibrium.
Right. And paradoxically, the creative principle, according to Householder, only begins where equilibrium is reached.
It begins at the balance point.
Yes, manifestations move out from this point of balance and then ultimately return to it, like a pendulum always trying to get back to the center.
That's a great visual. The sheer number of words he uses for this nameless one is kind of staggering.
It really is.
Electric essence, etheric substance, vibration, silence, universal mind, the power of God, law of nature. He goes on. Magnetic attraction, polarization of atoms, gravity, equilibrium, divine mind, God, deity, supreme law, love, or just ordinary cohesiveness.
Yeah, it's a long list.
What's he trying to convey by lumping all these seemingly different concepts together? Science, spirituality, abstract ideas.
I think it's his way of emphasizing the absolute unity of everything. By assigning all these terms, scientific ones like gravity, spiritual ones like God, abstract ones like love, to the same nameless one.
He's saying they're all just faces of the same thing.
Exactly. Different expressions, different facets of the exact same singular unifying vibrational principle. He's collapsing those perceived divisions. Science, spirituality, nature, it all stems from the same source vibration. Everything's connected.
And he even gives the law of infinite wisdom a number. Atomically weighed as 100.
He does. Which signifies, he says, 100% efficiency and 100% attainment in obedience of the knowledge of the law of infinite wisdom.
100%. So what does that numerical value imply for understanding divine law?
Well, this is where the numerology starts to peek through in a broader philosophical sense, isn't it?
Yeah.
By giving infinite wisdom the value of 100 per perfect efficiency, perfect attainment. He's essentially saying that understanding vibration, this fundamental principle, isn't just, an intellectual exercise.
It's about achieving something.
Achieving a state of perfect alignment and effectiveness. It implies the universe's laws aren't random, they're precise, mathematical. And if you truly comprehend and live in tune with these vibratory laws,
You achieve a state of perfect being.
that's the idea, which is akin to understanding and obeying divine law itself. It's about achieving absolute mastery through aligned knowledge, living in harmony with the vibration.
Okay, so if vibration is the ultimate principle and everything's a manifestation of it, then it makes perfect sense that vibration is also the essence of thought, mind, and spirit.
Exactly. It follows logically.
Householder just declares it. Thought is vibration. And he promises mathematical proof that thoughts are things through his numerical system.
Yes, and this is where he starts to bridge that gap between the cosmic, the universal, and the personal, the individual.
How so?
Well, if everything in the universe vibrates, then our thoughts, which often feel so intangible, right?
Yeah, ephemeral.
They must also be vibrations. He then takes it a step further, stating quite boldly, names and numbers are all there is.
All there is. That's
Yeah,
extreme.
wow. A very strong claim. But for Householder, it means that everything we perceive, everything expressed to the human mind, form, color, shape, power, origin, destiny, all of it can be interpreted through these fundamental vibratory values.
They're numbers.
Specifically through numerical symbols related to letters and digits. The mind and its expressions, he argues, are readily interpreted by a use of figures and symbols only as they are related to each other, and that relationship is vibration.
Okay, here's something that really grounds this. He talks about the gray matter in our brain.
Ah, yes, the physical brain itself.
He describes it as a compact condensation of ions, electrons, etherized and distilled into a liquid protoplasmic substance, designed specifically to define the vibratory rate of ether waves.
Right, so the brain isn't just a processor in his view, it's a finely tuned receiver.
A receiver. For what?
For these fundamental vibrations from the ether. Remember, ether is his term for that omnipresent medium of vibration.
Okay, so what are these ether waves conveying?
Householder believes they convey to all harmonious instruments, minds, brains, souls, spirits, the truth of things as they are.
The truth of things.
Yeah, think of it like this. The universe is a symphony of vibrations. Our brains are specifically built to pick up and interpret these frequencies from the ether.
If they're harmonious.
Exactly. When our brains are in tune, they can accurately receive and process these truth vibrations, allowing us to understand the real nature of reality. It's almost like a telepathic interaction with the universal mind.
And this gets really profound for our inner world. He says, thought is spiritual vibration from the seat of equilibrium.
Yes.
And this spiritual vibration bestows assimilative love, comprehension upon human beings. That suggests our very capacity for understanding, for empathy, comes from this core vibrational truth.
That connection is key for him. Deep understanding, even love, aren't just emotions, but inherent qualities of a high-frequency spiritual vibration, emanating from that perfect point of equilibrium we talked about.
And consciousness itself operates on different octaves of vibratory force, like music.
Exactly like music. Just as notes exist on different octaves, different levels of consciousness exist at different vibrational frequencies. Our mind, soul, ego, they're all forms of this vibratory essence.
And they act as, what did he call it, a master musician?
Yes, the master musician that strikes the atoms of gaseous nature and causes them to vibrate in perfect harmony with truth, God, thought, being, man, infinite mind.
So it's a cycle. Our inner vibrations influence the outer, and the outer influences the inner.
An eternal cycle. We're constantly part of this larger universal symphony.
Okay, now if you're listening, you might be thinking, like us, how does this big abstract idea of vibration actually work practically?
Yeah.
How do we use this for understanding ourselves or our names?
Right. How do we decode it?
And this is where Householder introduces his very detailed system, Householder's system, 4 dimensions of word name. He claims this system decodes the vibratory essence.
He does. His perfect numerology, as he calls it, aims to unveil ancient secrets. Secrets known way back, he says, to the ancients of Pythagoras' time, around 600 BC.
Ancient secrets. And he adds something quite dramatic about that knowledge, doesn't he?
He does. It's striking. He says Pythagoras' basic principles were transmitted by word of mouth alone and was never permitted to be written.
Why not?
Lest those in whose possession they were found would be put to death.
Put to death, just for having this knowledge written down.
Apparently. He suggests the system was so potent, maybe even challenging to the powers that be, that its holders, members of the College of Mathematicians or Aryans, who he also calls necromancers, risk their lives to keep it alive through oral tradition only.
Wow. That paints a picture of a knowledge system that was seen as revolutionary, maybe even dangerous.
It certainly suggests it was highly valued and protected. Householder highlights that Critolus and Pythagoras developed the most perfect numerology to interpret the great principle of nature, a system that verged on the perfect.
But it was lost.
Tragically, yes. He says the secret was lost when their school was destroyed due to persecution. So, Householder's system, his Householder's perfect numerology, aims to bring back, to reveal this ancient secret.
And people have been bidding for it.
For centuries, he notes. Students of Greek, Latin, Anglo-Saxon languages searched for this method. It underscores its historical significance and how hard it was to rediscover.
And he connects it to other spiritual thinkers, too, to kind of bolster its legitimacy.
He does. He references Emanuel Swedenborg's Heaven and Hell, which apparently discusses numerology and heavenly numerical writings where numbers convey deep arcana.
Arcana, mysteries.
Right. Things beyond normal words. He also connects it to an American author, Steve Arthur's Book of Life, and even quotes Mary Baker G. Eddy's Science and Health, supporting the idea that understanding the divine principle of mathematics is essential for salvation.
So he's placing his work within a lineage that sees numbers as a key to spiritual understanding and personal liberation.
Exactly. It's not just a quirky system he invented. He sees it as rediscovering something profound and historically significant.
Okay, so how do we actually apply this? Pythagoras apparently told his students to define every word by 4 things: atomic weight, gross volume, combined power, origin, and destiny.
Those are the 4 dimensions.
And Householder says these 4 express all graduations of nature's laws and show the direction in which the great over principle is manifesting.
Right. So the implication is profound. Your name isn't just a label.
It's a blueprint.
A vibratory blueprint, exactly. A unique energetic signature you can mathematically decode to reveal your core nature, your ambitions, even your potential for health, harmony, the works.
He claims it can accurately define words, temperament, predict life aspects.
It's a bold claim. Let's walk through it with an example, maybe just using the word word itself, so you can see how these dimensions are calculated.
Good idea. Make it concrete. What's the first dimension?
First is gross volume, GV. This one's the simplest. It's just the total number of symbols or digits of which it is composed.
So for a word, just count the letters.
Exactly. For a person's name, this becomes their temperamental number, indicating what the person is as a whole.
Okay. So for word, W-O-R-D, that's 4 letters.
Right. So its gross volume, GV, is 4. He says to place this single digit over the word.
Simple enough. What's next?
Next is atomic weight, AW. This is where he uses what he calls the Kabbalah table.
Kabbalah table, like Kabbalah.
It seems related conceptually. It's basically his system for assigning a number, usually 1 through 9, to each letter of the alphabet. Different numerology systems use slightly different tables, but his is specific.
Okay, so for word.
According to Householder's table, W is 5, O is 6, R is 9, and D is 4.
Got it. 5, 6, 9, 4.
You sum those values, 5 plus 6 plus 9 plus 4 equals 24. Then you always reduce sums to a single digit by adding the digits together. So 2 plus 4 equals 6.
Okay, so the atomic weight, AEW, of word is 6.
Correct. And for a person's name, this AEW is the index to their desires and ambitions. What drives them deep down.
Right, desires and ambitions. Next dimension.
Third is combined power, CP. This one's pretty straightforward once you have GV and AW.
How does it work?
You just take the single digit GV and the single digit AW, add them together, and reduce that sum to a single digit.
Okay, and what does this CP tell us about a person?
For a name, it supposedly foretells whether the ambitions and desires will be realized. It's got a predictive element.
Interesting. So for word, GV was 4, AEW was 6.
Add them. 4 plus 6 equals 10.
Reduce 10. 1 plus 0 is 1.
Exactly. The combined power CP of word is 1.
Okay, GV, AW, CP. One more. Origin and destiny, OD. This sounds important.
It is presented as perhaps the most revealing.
Yeah.
And it's the most comprehensive calculation.
How do you calculate it?
It's the total count of every single digit used throughout the entire deduction process, from the initial letter values to the intermediate sums to the final reduced digits all added up and then reduced to a single digit.
Every number you wrote down.
Pretty much. He specifically notes not is counted in origin and destiny unless it's part of a number like 10, where you count both the 1 and the 0.
Okay. And what does this OD reveal for a person?
This is highly significant. It supposedly reveals what the desires and ambitions of the person should be if they would have perfect health, peace, plenty. It points towards their highest potential, their ideal path.
What they should be aiming for. Let's try it for word. We need all the digits we used.
Right. Let's recap them mentally. Kabbalah values, 5, 6, 9, 4, 4 digits Kabbalah values. Sum for AEW was 24, so the digits 2 and 4, 2 digits, Kabbalah values. Reduce AW was 6, 1 digit. Kabbalah values, GV was 4, 1 digit. Kabbalah values, sum for CP was 10, so the digits 1 and 0, 2 digits. Kabbalah values, reduce CP was 1, 1 would...
Okay, so counting those, 4 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, that's 11 digits in total.
Exactly, 11 digits involved in the whole process for word. Then you reduce that total count. 1 plus 1 is 2.
So the origin and destiny for word is 2.
According to this method, yes. And the purpose of this whole 4-dimensional analysis, Householder explains, is to give you a complete numerical blueprint of your inner workings, your potential.
Leading to self-understanding.
And a guide for how to achieve your highest good, that state of health, peace, and plenty.
It's clear that for Householder, these vibrational laws permeate everything. He doesn't just stop at names. He applies it to the structure of the natural world itself.
He really does. He challenges traditional views.
Yeah, asserting 5 kingdoms of nature, not the usual 4.
Right. Most people think mineral, vegetable, animal, human.
But he adds spiritual.
Exactly. Mineral, vegetable, animal, human, and spiritual. He argues that nature never does things in part, and that all her laws are based on the infinite principle of spirit, which fills every niche and accounts for the vibration of everything.
So the spiritual kingdom is necessary for completeness.
That's his argument.
Yeah.
And he backs it up numerologically.
How so?
Each of these 5 kingdom names, when you analyze them using his Kabbalah table and reduce them.
The Kubalize, is that the term he uses?
Yeah, Kabbalizes to specific single-digit numbers. Mineral reduces to 9, vegetable to 7, animal to 5, human to 3.
Okay, 9, 7, 5, 3, all odd numbers.
Exactly. And spirit. It reduces to 1. From 37, then 10, then 1.
1, 3, 5, 7, 9.
The creative vibrations, as he calls them. By including the spiritual kingdom, he argues, it leaves no gap in the gradation of digits that are positive. It completes the harmonious sequence.
That's neat, numerically speaking. And he connects this to Genesis.
He does, which is fascinating. He aligns the mineral kingdom with the firmament or heaven from the end of the 2nd day.
Okay.
Vegetable kingdom emerges on the 4th day, grass, herbs, etc. Animal kingdom on the 5th day, fishes, whales. Human kingdom on the 6th day, when God made animals and man to rule over them, where he himself to rule over the human. It shows this progressive evolution, he says, of material manifestations or expressions of thought forms, all directed by that infinite principle of spirit.
A continuous unfolding. He even says the dictionary reflects this.
Yeah, he claims the dictionary is divided into 5 classes of words expressing 5 manifestations: mineral, vegetable, animal, human, and spirit words. He sees this 5-fold structure everywhere.
What about their composition? How does he describe these kingdoms vibrationally?
It's quite unique. Minerals are very compact etherons.
Etherons, like dense bundles of that ether stuff.
That seems to be the implication, yeah. Very dense, tightly packed vibration. Vegetables, in contrast, are rapid-moving etherons of light volume, less dense, more dynamic vibration.
Animals and humans.
A compact combination of all vibratory weights of loose and compact affinitized etherons. We incorporate the full spectrum from the lower kingdoms.
He tries to ground this scientifically too, right? Mentioning body composition.
Sort of. He notes the human body contains gases like oxygen, hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen. He even talks about the smallest life germ, the water mole, being made by uniting hydrogen and oxygen with electric lightning heat, creating matter and energy from vibration.
And where does the spiritual kingdom fit in compositionally? What are they made of?
He specifically says that ions, those tiny vibrating particles we mentioned, are the spiritual kingdom.
The ions themselves.
Yes, he calls them a vibratory force not of sufficient density to occupy any appreciable dimensions of space, yet they are the central nucleus of all space-occupying bodies.
So the fundamental units of energy are spirit permeating everything.
That's his view, the building blocks of spirit animating all form.
Okay, this brings us neatly into how these grand principles play out within us. Consciousness, will, and personal responsibility.
Yes, how it all manifests individually.
Let's start with the ego, soul, and brain. How does he define the ego? He also calls it the king cell.
Right. The ego is the conscious self or person. He sees it as a magnetic vibratory force from God. And crucially, it's the foundation and support of all knowledge.
The foundation of knowledge.
Yeah.
And conscience.
He equates conscience directly with the ego, calls it the ego or better self, and is a magnetic vibratory force from God. So our inner compass, our sense of right and wrong, is this divine vibration.
And the ego is the spiritual part.
The spiritual part of life or being, yes. It controls our form, contains all the mysteries of life. The soul, though, has a slightly different role.
What does the soul do?
The soul is the center nuclei of the body. Its job is to select and discriminate between these physical elements that grow to build this body. It actively influences whether our form becomes beautiful or deformed.
So the soul is like the quality control manager for the bodybuilding process.
Kind of, yeah. Selecting the vibrational materials.
And the brain. We touched on the gray matter being a receiver.
Right. A compact condensation of ions, electrons etherized. Basically, a sophisticated receiver for these subtle etheric vibrations. It records them in memory, which leads to comprehension.
And comprehension gives power to the will.
Power to the will to initiate action, exactly. Understanding the vibrational truth empowers us to act. He uses that interesting analogy.
The container and the contain.
Yeah. The container and the contain must be equal. The inside filling of my head is my brains. They are equal.
Okay.
Now there is where something happens. What do you use your brains for? Thought. The brain is the hardware, thought is the software, fueled by vibration.
And the ego, our consciousness, comes from God.
Came from a source, attributed the generation of life to be of God, directly connecting us to the divine source. Numerologically, he notes ego, 576, sums to 18, reduces to 9.
And 9 links too.
Single cell and man. implying its fundamental role.
Wow. Okay, building on that, he talks about 14 senses, not 5.
14, a significant expansion of perception, and all of them, he says, are expressions of vibration.
What are the 7 physical senses?
Sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. Then he had sensing, like a general awareness, and psychic.
Psychic is a physical sense.
In his framework, yes.
Huh.
A subtle, non-physical perception, but categorized under the physical grouping.
Okay. And the 7 metaphysical senses. These sound more out there.
They definitely take us into more subtle realms. Psychometry.
Reading objects by touch.
Right. Prophecy, seeing future vibrational patterns. Clairaudience, clear hearing beyond the physical. Clairvoyance, clear seeing.
And then the big ones. Omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotent.
Knowing all, being everywhere, unlimited power, he believes that by concentration and condensation, all the sensations of consciousness have exact counterparts in the physical and spiritual worlds.
So the inner and outer mirror each other through these senses.
Precisely. He even likens our 7 facial openings, eyes, ears, nostrils, mouth, to 7 spiritual terminals, funneling vibrations inward.
And that sensing psychic ability.
Linked to the soul, he says. That's what eventually leads to those higher states. Omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence. They all converge, he says, at the grand central seat of comprehension, spirit, ultimate God principle, love, truth, thought, center of equilibrium.
Back to that center point again.
Yeah.
It's all interconnected.
A truly holistic, vibrational view of perception and connection to the divine.
Now, he brings in a specific body part that's maybe surprising here, the solar plexus.
Ah, yes, not the brain for everything.
He calls it the seat of the conscience, the seat of vibration, the center, the law of my being, not the brain.
Not primarily for conscience or instinct in his view. While the brain processes thought, the solar plexus is where actions are instinctively initiated, where those gut feelings, those hunches, come from.
It's the attractive center magnetic center, drawing vibrations in.
That's how he describes it. He gives that example. If you feel guilty, your mouth gets dry, stomach feels weird.
Not usually a headache.
Exactly. That indicates the solar plexus influencing bodily reactions directly, automatically, reflecting the law of attraction and equilibrium based on our thoughts and actions.
And conscience itself is mainly negative.
He frames it that way. Primarily the sense of loss or suffering from disobeying natural law. If you obey, you have no conscience, just poise.
Poise, harmony, heaven.
Yes.
Okay, this leads naturally to the power of will and initiative.
Yeah.
How does he define will?
Will is the giving. It's positive, active, the main tool for building character. And importantly, he believes will is but a matter of education, as is also comprehension.
So you can train your will. It's not fixed.
It can be developed, strengthened through understanding, but then there's initiative.
Which is different from will.
Yes. Initiative is the inward spiritual knowledge or comprehension of the power to create that forces one, irrespective of his will, to do the thing.
So it's a deeper urge that overrides conscious will sometimes.
Exactly. That compelling inner knowing linked to the soul's power that makes you act even if your conscious mind resists.
He says something pretty radical about initiative.
Starting to do the thing is 100% success.
Just starting, not finishing.
Just the act of beginning. The initial creative impulse is success in that moment. Will, he explains, is the pivot-like force controlling attraction, repulsion, creation, destruction.
But it's controlled by
Divine mind from the center of equilibrium. He stresses, will only is creative.
like Bonaparte crossing the Alps. I will find a way or make one.
That's the analogy he uses, that unstoppable force of focused will. But he also warns, will is a double principle of mind. One side is destructive and the other is constructive.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Always.
And this ties directly into personal responsibility and the law of attraction. He's very direct here.
No beating around the bush, he states. You never had anything in your life that you did not deserve. Whether it was good or bad, it was just was coming to you. You created that thing.
Wow, stark accountability. We create our reality through vibration.
That's the core message. The law of mental suggestion is powerful. And a vibration will seek its own vibration that is in harmony with it, in spite of everything. Like attracts like.
And thoughts have real consequences.
Yeah.
The selfish versus unselfish thought example.
Right. The unselfish thought goes out, helps, returns amplified. The selfish grasping thought sticks right to you. It does come home to roost. Direct energetic feedback.
Your inner state creates your outer reality.
And desire itself is powerful. The power of desire is the word, he says, which creates molecules. But the vibration of your desire, your word, must be the exact size, shape, color, volume, form, and number of the thing that you desire.
You have to be incredibly specific and focused in your desire vibration.
Seems so, and it all builds.
Oh.
Sow an act and you reap a habit, sow a habit and you reap a character, sow a character and you reap a destiny.
Our destiny woven from our thoughts and actions leads perfectly into truth and wisdom.
Central concepts for living in harmony with these principles.
How is truth defined here?
Fundamentally, truth is the one principle of nature, the law of vibration through which God is made manifest as the ultimate, infinite center of equilibrium.
So truth is the manifesting force of the divine vibration.
Yes. The principle from which all vibratory substances spring, manifesting in 7 forms of essence.
And knowledge.
Knowledge is a clear understanding of the truth, acquired through the medium of experience gained in the course of evolution.
So knowledge comes from living it, not just reading about it.
Exactly. The memory of experience is knowledge. Knowledge is power. Power is controlled vibration.
Truth leads to experience, leads to knowledge, leads to power over vibration. Clear chain.
A very clear chain. And thought itself is truth. He says all thought is positive, and its atomic weight numbers 3 and 6 stand for the principle of truth.
So thought is truth, and there is nothing, no thing but truth or thought.
That's his assertion. Thoughts are infinite and absolute. They are creators. Their destiny is complete harmony with the truth, and crucially, there is no principle higher than thought.
Our minds are the ultimate creative force. Now, how does he distinguish wisdom from just knowledge? He seems to spend a lot of time on this.
He really does. It's clearly more than just knowing facts for him. Wisdom is right understanding, a faculty of discerning good from evil, judgment grounded upon the value of things and not the common opinion.
So it has a moral, practical dimension. Discernment.
Yes. And it's active, transformative. It sets a watch over our words and deeds, immerses us in contemplation of the works of nature, making us invincible by either good or evil fortune.
Invincible, that's a strong word. Unshakable by external events.
That's the goal. It's large and spacious, can ransack heaven and earth, covers things past and to come, transitory and eternal. It allows examining all the circumstances of time, the nature of the soul, its origin, duration.
A truly comprehensive grasp of existence, not just the present moment.
And it's presented as a habit of a perfect mind and the perfection of humanity, raised as high as nature can carry it.
A habit, something cultivated, not just a gift.
Right. And distinct from philosophy, which he calls the effect and reward of wisdom. Wisdom is the use. To be wise is the use of wisdom.
It has to be applied. Print it in our minds by daily meditation.
Right.
Bring a good will to a good habit.
Exactly. True philosophy does not rest in words, but in things. It's practical. Wisdom fashions our actions, sits at the helm, and guides us through all hazards.
It informs our duties.
Yeah.
Piety, faith, charity, judgment. And it brings peace.
Peace by fearing nothing, and riches by coveting nothing. Inner peace, inner wealth, not dependent on the external.
It helps us live happily, distinguish true greatness and tumor, clears the mind of dross and vanity.
Raises thoughts to heaven, carries them down to hell, meaning it encompasses the full spectrum. It delves into the soul, first principles, retrieves the truth of all.
It searches nature, gives laws to life, and tells us that crucial thing.
It is not enough to know God unless we obey him. Knowledge requires action, obedience to the law.
For true happiness and power, truth sets a true value upon things, frees us from false opinions, condemns fleeting pleasures with regret.
And leads to that ultimate self-mastery. No man to be happy but he that needs no other happiness, but what he has within himself. No man to be great or powerful that is not master of himself.
That's the goal. A self-generated, unshakable happiness and power. The felicity of human life.
And it connects back to vibration. Truth is that law of vibration, and practical wisdom is described simply as a calm and unexcitable state of mind, the ultimate result of alignment.
A compelling vision. Our thoughts create reality. Actions have cosmic returns. How does this extend beyond the individual to societal harmony and the universal mind?
Well, it flows naturally from the idea of interconnectedness through vibration. The cosmos is infinite, we're all part of it, linked indivisibly.
Back to the core principle. There is only one principle, and that is vibration, linking all truth.
One truth is linked to and dependent upon another infinitum. No isolated truths. And because our thoughts are vibrations...
They aren't just stuck in our heads.
No. They affect the universal ether, causing every brain cell-like texture to vibrate in the same motion. This is his basis for mental telepathy.
Telepathy as a natural consequence of shared vibration.
Exactly. Which leads to the universal mind. There is but one universal mind that constitutes the law of all things create and uncreate.
And we are
Individual expressions of that mind. So, when an image is in your conscious mind, it is in every other consciousness that is in tune with yours.
a shared mental space, thoughts traveling without wires,
That's his view, molding public opinion through shared vibration, which cannot be stopped. If you originate a thought, it disturbs the ether, other similar brains resonate.
like ripples in a pond hitting other minds.
Yeah. A thought wave will lodge in millions and millions of brains. It's how vibration, God speaks to man, through these shared ethereal disturbances.
This has huge ethical implications for giving and receiving them.
Absolutely. He distinguishes between thoughts we originate and thoughts we receive, but both are creative or disintegrative.
So even thoughts we just entertain have an effect.
Yes. If we entertain an external thought, it will create something for someone else. And the core law. Every thought goes to its kind, and to the place of origination it returns.
The boomerang effect again. Selfish thoughts stick, unselfish thoughts help and return amplified.
It's a direct, energetic feedback loop. He says, men with their thoughts of evil weave cables that chain them to everlasting misery.
While unselfish thoughts.
Weave and build palaces to live in. Our thoughts literally build our reality, individually and collectively.
Which extends to the brotherhood of man idea. How does he connect that?
He suggests that if people didn't hoard surplus beyond their needs, recognizing it belongs to every helpless woman and child and old person, then this brotherhood idea would flourish. Worry and poverty would vanish.
So the fear of poverty drives hoarding, which prevents collective well-being.
That's his argument. If that fear was removed by understanding this principle, humanity could shift to creating for the common good.
And it all circles back to equilibrium, the grand central law.
Yes. The nameless one is spirit, but also equilibrium, that poised center where positive and negative balance perfectly.
The psychological moment of life creation.
Right. Societal harmony is just achieving this equilibrium on a grand scale. From the tiniest ion to the whole cosmos, a vision of a perfectly balanced, interlinked society mirroring the cosmic order.
Which brings us finally back to the individual and that ultimate state he aims for. Poise and individual mastery.
Poise. A truly central concept for him.
He defines it as a perfect temperament, a super being state with not found a trace of temperaments. What does that mean? No temperaments.
It sounds like transcending the usual fluctuations. It's a condition of spirit, soul, and mind blended together by love and functioning in perfect harmony.
Total internal coherence, not just being calm.
Much more than that. He equates it with universal mind, consciousness. Says when the brain cells are properly organized and vibrate in harmony, you achieve poise.
And he calls poise.
Poise is heaven. And heaven is reached by living in obedience with natural law. Heaven as an attainable inner state, not a place.
And he connects this to perfect numbers like 6 and 28.
Yes. Noting they end alternately in 6 and 8, reflecting balance. They sit between excess and deficiency. That ideal equilibrium.
That's rare.
Extremely. He claims only 4 perfect dispositions or temperaments in 10,000 people. Shows how difficult achieving this perfect balance is.
Number 6 is the perfect number, linked to perfect thoughts.
Reinforcing that connection. Temperament itself is the proper mixture development and harmonizing of the physical elements. And he notes ego has temperaments, but dispositions are linked to spirit.
A spiritual foundation for our inner states. It's holistic.
Absolutely. Which all culminates in that numerical blueprint for self-mastery. Understanding your temperament through your name's numerology is key.
There's 4 dimensions again. They map it out.
They provide the index, the blueprint, gross volume, your essential nature, your temperament, what the person is as a whole, atomic weight, your deep desires and ambitions, combined power, foretells if those desires will be realized. Origin and destiny reveals what your desires should be for perfect health, peace, plenty, guiding you toward poise and heaven.
So it's a roadmap.
Yeah.
Analyze your name's vibrations, understand the blueprint, and consciously align your will and thoughts with that law of infinite wisdom.
To attract positive outcomes, create your desired reality, achieve that poise. It's a system he truly believed was significant, worthy the attention of educators the world over.
What a journey through his ideas. It's incredibly intricate.
It really is, from that single principle of vibration governing everything to the detailed mechanics of consciousness and this potential for harmony. It's a complete, interconnected system he lays out.
A powerful reminder of interconnectedness and the sheer creative power of our thoughts. Understanding these vibrations is the key to self-mastery.
Exactly. And it really invites us not just to, know these ideas, but to live in wisdom, to
Hmm.
actively use it, fashion our actions, master ourselves, align our vibrations with truth.
That idea that all nature's laws are based on this infinite principle of spirit, accounting for the vibration of everything,
Hmm.
it really connects our inner world right back out to the cosmos.
It does. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a provocative thought from Householder, something that really gets to the heart of manifestation.
Okay, what is it?
It's the idea of the subconscious as the matrix, the mother of all things. Think about what that implies for our unexamined thoughts, the ones we don't consciously analyze.
That if they sink deep enough,
Through concentration, perhaps even unintentional focus, they inevitably manifest, whether we consciously want them to or not, shaping our reality without us even being immediately aware of it.
wow, food for thought indeed. What seeds are we planting in that subconscious matrix without realizing it?
Something to reflect on.
Definitely. Until next time, keep exploring the deep.